The Pixies on Indie 103.1 Wave of Mutilation. Joe Escalante here at 8:17. The film is called Bustin Down The Door. I saw it yesterday. It deals with some of the legends of surfing from the 70s who were the pioneers, paved the way for the surfing industry as it is today. And Jeremy Gosch is the director. He is here. And surfing legend Mark Richards, MR, here in the studio. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
And we have, and who's all flying in for this? Because we got, in the movie, we got Ian Cairns, Peter Townend, we got Rabbit Bartholomew, Mark Richards, and it goes on and on. Who's all coming in for all these events?
Yeah, all those guys. I mean, PT, Peter Townend lives here. Ian Cairns lives here in California.
Really?
Sean lives here. Yep. They're both.
Oh, Laguna Beach. Like Ian Cairns said that.
Beach
Yeah.
And then Mike Thompson lives in Laguna Beach. And then we flew in MR. And actually, Rabbit Bugs is going to be here also. He's president of the ASP, and he had a big board meeting.
Oh, wow.
That's why he's not here this morning.
Okay.
So everyone's going to be here. We're actually flying in Fast Eddie Rothman tonight, too.
Really?
Oh, really?
From Hawaii?
He's going to be down in the Huntington premiere. I don't know how long he's sticking in town for, but he's going to see it in the audience, so that's going to be fun.
These are all great characters in the film. I mean, you did a great job.
I mean, that's the thing is these guys were really just amazing men who really had amazing stories to tell, and we just tried to, put it on screen as simply as possible.
Well, give the synopsis as you see it after I butchered it.
Well,
it's good to have the director say something.
I kind of say it's the 3 years on the North Shore that changed surfing forever. I mean, these guys came in and really just came in with their surfing and wanted to get famous, and ended up kind of starting a revolution. And it's what these guys did is kind of the birth of what all surfing is today, as far as radical and whatnot. And they ended up hitting into a huge culture clash with the Hawaiians.
How do you see it, Mark? The film itself. I mean, if you describe it to someone, what do you say?
I guess I come from a biased perspective because I'm in it, and I obviously love the film. But I've been describing it to people back in Newcastle because everyone's been asking me about it back in my hometown in Australia. And it just tells this wonderful story. Even if you didn't like surfing, I think you would be struck by the visuals. And the story itself is great. There's sections in it where you're in amazement. There's sections where you laugh, and there's sections where you want to cry. So I think it just encompasses everything that a movie should be. And regardless of whether you weren't into surfing, I think you could go and watch Busting Down the Door and come out of it and go, that was an amazing film. I loved it.
There was a lot of crying,
Well, there's some heavy stuff in there. Like, a lot of people really come clean in the interviews, I think, in the interviews that... A lot of the times people are very guarded. I think in this movie, I think people really open up and say what they really feel about things, especially Rabbit, like describing his upbringing and his childhood. And there's some really heavy stuff where the Australians and the South Africans ran into problems with the Hawaiians. There was quite a bit of violence, and some of the guys were very fearful of their lives, and they were worried about getting off Hawaii and actually getting back home again. It seems silly when you think about it now in the context of surfing, but there's some segments in the film, and there was a time where there was life and death situations in Hawaii just over surfing, which sounds crazy, but it did happen.
If you liked Dogtown, it's going to be compared to Dogtown. I'm going to say I liked it better. So I don't want to get beat up when I have lunch in Venice today, but I got to tell you, Mark, why you? What made you such great surfers?
It's sort of hard to describe. I guess it was a generation of Australians that sort of came through similar age brackets. We have a very competitive system in Australia for young surfers, the schoolboy events, junior events.
So it was just ingrained in the physical education, kind of the way baseball is.
Competitive. Aussies are really competitive. It doesn't matter what sport it is. And especially in surfing, and we're growing up on this diet of actually seeing a surfing movie every year or two.
Sure.
And the main focus in surfing movies was always Hawaii. They always culminated in the Hawaiian section with the biggest and the baddest and the most radical surf in the world.
Here come the big waves.
So we as kids had dreams of actually going to Hawaii. So it was the same with like Sean Thompson, Wayne Bartholomew, Ian Cairns, Peter Townend. We dreamt about this, and for us it was. It was like going to the candy store. If you're a chocolate addict, we went.
You think you appreciated it, and every single wave.
Yeah, we were unleashed as teenagers in the biggest and the best surf in the world. We just wanted to tear it to pieces. And strangely, in those days, to actually get invited, pro surfing was just starting to take off in the early 70s. To get invited to the Australian events, even if you were an Australian, you actually had to go to Hawaii and do well in big surf there, because if you weren't considered a good big wave surfer in Hawaii, as silly as it sounds, you wouldn't get invited to a pro event in Australia.
Well, that makes sense to me. They don't appreciate what they have. They go, oh, you're exotic once you get over there, and then you come over and you're somebody. But so you guys risked everything. You went over there, and I know you didn't. I mean, Newcastle, that's not like a resort community. That's a working class town, right?
It's a working class town, but we have consistently good surf. We don't have like great surf. It's not a surfing destination where people travel there to ride waves. But we do get waves every day, and it's a great training ground for surfing. I think history in surfing has proven right up unto Kelly Slater today that some of the best competitive surfers appear from some of the worst waves on the planet, because it forces them to actually try and surf better in bad surf, whereas the guys who grow up in perfect surf, even though it's a great place to be if you're somewhere where there's great waves, competitively they seem to have a disadvantage over guys who have grown up surfing bad waves.
Right. Well, when it comes to a contest, a surfing contest is totally different than just recreational surfing, because you're trying to get points. So you got to get points out of anything.
Well, you've got like 20 minutes in the water, and it's usually best 2, 3 or 4 waves depending on the format. So you've got that amount of time, and you've got to go out there and pick the 2 or the 3 or the 4 best waves that actually come through and surf them to your best of your ability. So what happens is in contests, no one knows the magical formula, but guys can be tearing it to pieces before the heat starts in the warm-up session, and then they go out in that 20 minutes and just choke. There's a whole... As well as being able to surf well, there's a whole competitive side to it as well, to be able to handle the competition side of things. So
you get over to Hawaii in the 70s, and the Hawaiians are... a big part of the movie is how the Hawaiians felt they were being treated. So I don't want to make them mad all over again right here. But this is one of the most compelling parts of the film is the clash that you had. Can you briefly describe how that started and where it ended up?
Well, the shit hit the fan the second year when we went back. Basically what happened was the Aussies and the South Africans went to Hawaii. We won all the events, and the Hawaiians were very, very welcoming. They were stoked to see the overseas surfers. I think they were hurt and a little bit disappointed to have lost all the events in their home waters, but they had sort of taken it on board. But what happened was some of the Aussies and the South Africans then went home and started writing stories in the magazines and in the media talking about how we're tops now, we beat the Hawaiians in the best surf in the world, we're the greatest surfers in the world. So the Hawaiians sort of took it as being that we weren't appreciating their hostility, and we were, thumping our chests, all saying we're the best now,
and kind of saying that they had stagnated in their
approach.
That was the one sentence I saw. They had stagnated. We are excelling, and they didn't like that.
Well, when we went back the next winter, it wasn't a lot of fun. There was some serious threats of violence, and there
were actually beatings.
Well, there were, yeah. It's really worth seeing the movie just to see how that actually unfolded.
Yes, it really is. And then there was a tribunal. There was some parallel government going on in Hawaii, and they took kind of judgment into their own hands.
Yeah, there's a great Hawaiian family, the Eddie Aikau family, Aikau family, and they kind of stepped in and were like, this isn't good for everyone. Let's have this kind of almost a trial.
Yeah.
And
I think they were worried there was going to be a fatality.
Yeah,
and it got to that point. Yeah. I know that sounds serious, but that was where it was at.
But you were the good Australia. You were the one that they said, why can't you be like Mark Richards? He doesn't write these articles about how great he is. He just comes here and surfs and wins.
Well, I was very fortunate because I was staying the year that we won the events. I was staying with an Hawaiian family, and I think I got a sense of what was going on, and I think I felt a sense of their loss and their hurt that they hadn't actually won any of their own events, that they'd been beaten in their home waters. So I was really sensitive about what happened when I went home, and I tried not to actually play it up too much, and tried not to pat myself on the back too much. And I saw the articles that some of the other guys had done, and I felt it wasn't quite right. And I thought there's probably going to be some repercussions here, but we didn't realise the extent of the repercussions and the violence that sort of came from the situation.
But it takes experience to be able to handle the media like that when you get to the top of your field.
Yeah, I think they just didn't want to see the guys, the Aussies and the South Africans, doing a Muhammad Ali type act and patting themselves on the back. I think they wanted to see a little bit of appreciation for them opening up their waters to us and allowing us to surf there. And I think they wanted to see a bit of humility from the overseas competitors.
Excellent. Okay, Mark Richards, I don't want to give away the whole film, so everyone else is going to find out more about it. Going to have to see it. Even if you don't like surf films, it's a great story.
Thanks, Joe.
Congratulations,
Great,
you guys.
thank you.
Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks.
Indy 1031. The film's called Bustin' Down the Door.
Indy, I love